The TVWAN News is proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.
Hello, I'm Maricela Kelleton.
And I'm Terry. Join me later on in the bulletin with all the sporting stories.
In this edition, Labour rectifications announced, Morbe passes budget, and Simon reflects on Pride journey.
On January 18 this year, the National Parliament passed a resolution by an absolute majority vote for the ratification of the Labour Inspection Convention No. 81 and the Tripartite Consultation Convention No. 144. Today, the Ministry for Labour and Immigration announced these ratifications. These conventions are part of the wider set of international labour standards and lay the guiding framework in upholding the fundamental principles of rights at work.
The Labour Inspection Convention of 1947, No. 81, and the Tripartite Consultation Convention of 1997, No. 144, are part of the wider set of international labour standards, contributing to the socio-economic advancement in development agenda and sustainability efforts for the economy of Papua New Guinea. In a press conference today, the Ministry of Labour and Immigration announced the ratifications of these two conventions. Minister John Rosso says in a world of work, it is essential that the international labour standards cannot be overlooked.
Whilst there is so much to realize and learn from other economies, more specifically, and in recent times, governments all over the world have focused their attention on revitalizing labour administration.
Minister Rosso adds that the changes in the structure of labour markets and in employment relationships called for the reorganization of labour inspectorates.
The Labour Inspection Convention applies to industry and commerce and remains a principal international reference for labour inspection services and is as relevant today as it was over 70 years ago.
On addressing the ratification of the Tripartite Convention, Minister Rosso emphasized its significance at the national level.
The formulation and application of international labour standards is based on the principle of tripartism, which involves dialogue, consultations and cooperation between governments, employers and workers regarding standards and policies relating to labour matters.
The implementation of these conventions will be carried out by the department and relevant partners like the PNG Trade Union Congress and the Employers Federation of PNG.
The ratification for International Labour Convention on eliminating violence and harassment at the workplace was also announced today. This recent ratification is an effort by the department in response to the ugly reality of violence and harassment becoming endemic in many workplaces, with victims in sectors ranging from the most powerful to the most marginalized.
Violence and harassment, including gender-based violence in the world of work, remains pervasive, persistent, and affects all levels of work, occupations, and working arrangements. In announcing the ratification of the Violence and Harassment Convention No. 190, Minister for Labour and Immigration John Rosso acknowledged the negative impact of workers' well-being also affects businesses, contributing to absences from work and increased staff turnover related to fear, illness, and injury.
Every person, every worker, regardless of race, regardless of gender, every worker and employer has a right to work in an environment free from all forms of violence and harassment. We must strive to ensure and promote safe workplaces and prohibit any form of harm.
Making supporting statements for ratifications were representatives from the PNG Trade Union Congress and Employers Federation of PNG, respectively.
We hunger for time as this. We would like to see that the workers' rights are addressed, the workers' plight is seen in the open. I mean, despite whatever positions we hold, we're all workers. A lot of the people we represent will not know the magnitude of the ratification of these conventions. But as leaders of those people, we would like to say thank you, and we would like to say that this is progress.
The road to completing these conventions, or the conventions being ratified, is still, we're halfway through. We need to get this to the ILO in Geneva, and then finally we have to come back here in PNG and review our laws so that we align them with not just these 3 new conventions, but rest of the conventions. I make specific reference to the violence and harassment. In the Employment Act, there is nothing in the Employment Act which protects workers, which protects people who are in employment from, specifically from violence and harassment at the workplace.
Minister Rosso urges employees, workers and all those responsible to tackle violence and harassment at the workplace, as any act harmful or abusive constitutes a human rights violation.
Treasurer Ian Lynn Stuckey has clarified that the 100 million kina funding allocated to each member of parliament was for the period of 5 years and not 1 year as speculated in the media. However, he announced that the MPs were allocated 20 million kina per year.
There has been some misunderstanding with an announcement the Prime Minister made recently to your province of 100 million kina for members of Parliament.
Yes.
And I think I read someone in the opposition was a little bit confused again, and assumed that the 100 million was in 1 year, and I think made comments to the effect that no one can get 100 million in 1 year. Where will the money come from was the question. To correct that, it's 100 million over 5 years, which averages about 20 million kina per annum. Okay, and your 20 million kina, where do you source that from? Well, it's no big secret. If we look at our budget, in the capital component of it, each member of Parliament receives 10 million DSIP allocated to them each year. Then they have about 5 million kina under a new program called the District.
New Island Governor Sir Julius Chen is calling on the executive management of Lihir and Simberi gold mines to include the provincial government in its negotiations for mine purchase agreements. Sir Julius said it is important for the people of New Island to have a say on the type of miner allowed to mine in the province.
New Island Governor Sir Julius Chen said he was disappointed to learn through the media that Newcrest has already gone ahead to strike a deal with American mining company Newmont. He said it is important for the people of New Island to have a say on the type of miner allowed to mine in the province.
I want to warn them, whether you tell me or you don't tell me, the fact of the matter is, suppose you kiss him all kind, partnership come, walk close to one them provincial government, then you are creating another pogra in Papua New Guinea. I will not allow it. We will not cooperate with it. We will make sure every agreement that we signed back in 1995 is fulfilled.
Sir Julius acknowledged that the possible purchase of Lihir mine by Newmont was an important development. However, said the miner must be fully briefed on all the original Lihir MOAs, the current arrangements under the tax credit scheme, and be prepared to carry out all outstanding obligations.
The company here is starting a walk. They're making big money finish on New Island. Now, only been start finish close to 30 years now. That was your condemn all exploration period Well, start finish close to 30 years. 30 years, minokism good la report all to making big corporate work or some corporate citizens.
The governor said any economic activity or developers being brought into the province must undergo a proper vetting process. He said for Simberi, issues include levels of production since 2015, royalty payments since 2015, recent production problems, and possible takeover of mine implications.
Fact. On New Crest and or St. Barbara, don't talk so. Talk so long government, also only like Salem. Now, why only like Salem? I must know. They make money here. They enrich themselves here.
Jumaima Sugbat, TVWAN News.
Minister for Civil Aviation Walter Schnobelt has confirmed a plane crash incident in a remote village near Geram-Ben Airstrip, Western Highlands Province. He said the Civil Aviation Safety Authority and Accident Investigation Commission are scrambling their teams to visit the crash site and commence investigations. Minister Schnobelt said the investigations will identify the cause of the incident. He said the North Coast Aviation crashed on Thursday, 9th February around 11:30 a.m. It is understood the charter flight was heading to Simbai in Medan Province. The pilot of the charter flight was injured and rushed to Kunjip Hospital, while other 3 passengers were treated at the CLTC Clinic Center. This is TV1 News. After the break, Southeast Mananda launched SPA and 98 corps graduate.
With BSP Internet Banking, you can enjoy your banking at home, at work, or wherever you are. BSP Personal Internet Banking allows you to view your accounts and transactions, transfer money, bill pay, schedule future payments, or access your bank statements. Visit your nearest BSP branch to register now. BSP Internet Banking, the smarter way to bank. BSP, our bank, our people.
Strong like you, smart like me.
I hope they don't break.
Now surely look his son. This is Relaxo. Strong plus Shred. Should I try them on you?
No, please. I'll take them.
Relaxo. Very strong, lasts long.
Open hands.
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall. When you believe in things, but you don't understand the nature. Superstition ain't the way.
It's smile o'clock. It's smile o'clock. Gotta brush our teeth. Time o'clock. Did you have a nice day?
Real good.
Hanging out
in the neighborhood.
Had some dinner, now it's time to
Relax.
Put on some PJs after
Taking a
bath. Wanna read a story, but look, it's
smile o'clock.
Gotta brush our teeth.
Time o'clock.
Before it gets late,
Yeah, all of us.
everybody's happy when we brush.
Yeah.
Smile o'clock, time o'clock, so brush.
It's that time again. Scale Rise is giving you the chance to win some Scale School money for 2023. Over 220 winners. 4 fortnightly draws, that's 55 fortnightly winners. Cash prizes starting at 1,000 kina, 2,000 kina, 3,000 kina. They also have consolation prizes of 500 kina. Buy any Scale Rise or Ori Rise to enter the promotion for your chance to win the Scale School money. Terms and conditions apply. Scale Rise,
The Brain Changer.
Welcome back. The people of Southeast Mananda have launched a special purpose authority on Thursday in Walagu village, Mount Bosavi in Southern Highlands. The launching coincided with the commissioning of the rural healthcare ambulance services and solar power systems for Walagu and Agu health centers.
With no roads access and communication services, Walagu village in Southeast Mananda LLG of Nipa Kutubu district, Southern Highlands, is yet to fully experience basic government services. The people walk for 2 days to reach Como government station, the nearest. If they prefer Kutubu, they travel both day and night for 3 days. Nipa Kutubu district is host to Kutubu oil and gas fields, but life is challenging for the people of Walagu as the TVWAN news crew came to see and experience even for this short visit. The launching of the Southeast Mananda Special Purpose Authority at Walagu paves way for basic government services after more than 30 years of neglect. Chairman Ipape Ulijeli urged these people to work with him to see this plan unfold.
One promise me can make him. Suppose me find one something lo wagani, me can carry him because of thinking or lo level blow me. That's all you must have. Wara and big la wara stop. Come or some lo kigori me look like him. You must call him this lana carry him. You must call him hegigi wara na carry him. No, before you call him hegigi wara, me must call him let kudubu na carry him. Suppose bilum na mida karim go or no to you karim go. A mouse man is stop logo hap. All by like look go and sell bilum na one something stop. And all by looking.
With a population of more than 3,000, the people of Walagu have access to very limited health services. Although there is an aid post, it lacks vital supplies.
So, sampla time, mi pla olmeri sa kam karim piginini lo. Housing time, em nokat light, mi pla sa painim. Push candle na mi pla sa kam karim piginini lo ya. Sampla time, mi pla sa painim. Fire stick na mi pla sa kam karim piginini lo. Housing na lo trivalim piginini house to house in a proper house mi pla sa trivalim piginini. Walkman ta sol stop. One bla man ta sol stop. So sampla olmeri. All man stops also afraid na also karim lo push na bat na baby bilum sa pas lo peliet na sampla sa tai.
One life-threatening reality is that pregnant mothers are ashamed to seek assistance from the health worker in childbirth because he is a man. Many have died while doing so. One woman did so on the day the Special Purpose Authority was launched.
All mama, osa karim pingini, so light tu no ka sampla time mi basa light kendol na, mi basa karim, but sampla mama, also karim but sampla also die, mama sa die, but mi bla tindin logo se pipiat lo mama ya ino kam time mi bla tindin lo karim em goya, hard lo mi bla wo badi gona.
The people are pleading for government to connect them to the rest of the district and the province with road links. It is the most important service at the moment. Freddie Mo, TVWAN News.
98 policemen and women graduated with certificates and diploma in prosecutions from the Bomana Prosecutions Training School in Port Moresby after successfully completing a 4-year prosecutors qualifying program. The graduation ceremony for the 98 police prosecutors was held at the APEC House in Port Moresby yesterday. Present for the ceremony was DHES Secretary Dr. Francis Hualupmomi.
For the first time, the Prosecutions Directorate and the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary have certified police officers under its prosecutors qualifying program. A total of 98 policemen and policewomen graduated with certificates and diploma in prosecutions from the Bomana Prosecutions Training School on Thursday, 9th February. ACP Training John Colopan said the prosecution's qualifying program sets a milestone and a new chapter into professionalizing the prosecution's directorate. The prosecutor's qualifying program is a 4-year program consisting of 2 years of theory and 2 years of prosecution. There are 3 stages in the program and includes distance education, residential school, and court assessment phase. Some of the topics covered include introduction to criminal law, criminal practices and procedures, duties and powers, and defendants' rights. The training has enhanced the prosecutor's knowledge of the law, and the skills attained will enable them to confidently and completely carry out their duties as police prosecutors. The 4-year prosecutor's qualifying program is an ongoing diploma program in law at the University of Papua New Guinea. The program was funded by the PNG Australia Policing Partnership. Jumaima Sukba, TVWAN News.
Tribal Foundation's Changing Attitudes short film, Sanisim Pasin, is touching lives as it is being filmed around the communities. This week on Wednesday, 8 February, the tribal team was at the Jubilee Catholic Secondary School in the nation's capital.
Tribal Foundation continued their community outreach of changing attitudes by showing the film Sanisim Pasin, and this week they were at Jubilee Secondary School.
As a Papua New Guinean organization, we believe that context is everything. In terms of if we want to address an issue, we have to understand how it is happening, in which community it is happening, how do people in this community think about this issue, and how do we bring them into the discussion so that they can become the solution or be part of the solution to this issue.
The short film features people in all sectors of life who shared their own experiences of violence and how they overcame or dealt with it or the difficulties they faced.
So it's like that video kind of ignited deeper feeling that woman is important and my mother is important, and listening to those experiences from those ladies made me feel sorry for the way I treated my mom. So in a way it's eye-opening for me to actually see this in a way that I can't come to a stage where I try to fix other things in my house if I'm not doing anything in my house. So that the film actually ignited that deeper feeling.
The message in the Sanisim Pasin film touched the minds and emotions of the students who watched. It helped some of the students to identify with their experiences while relating to their own personal experiences in their families and communities.
When I started going to church, and they saw that it was like something like blessings was touching and so on. So from there, I managed to get all my family into church. It all started with my sisters. They started following me, and then my mom, and then eventually Dad came in.
Watching the film brought out stories of real people with real experiences that touched the students deep. It urges them to go and do something about it in their homes and communities. The students were then asked to fill in a Sanisim Pasin pledge and to recite it as well. That same procedure is taken in all communities tribal reaches. Tribal Foundation is a small organization but has reached 17 provinces with the Sanisim Pasin program and intends to continue to other remaining provinces. Frida Kana, TV1 News.
Grand Chief Sebob Dadai, Governor-General of Papua New Guinea, has received congratulatory messages on his recent re-election as Vice-Regal for a second term. Resident heads of missions and representatives recently visited the Governor-General to convey their congratulations on behalf of their countries and governments.
Ambassador Zheng Fanua from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China was one of the first to convey a congratulatory message from the President of China, Xi Jinping, when he made a courtesy call to the government house in Port Moresby this week. Ambassador Fanua said PNG was among the first Pacific Island countries to establish diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China, and the traditional friendship between the two countries has endured for a long time and is full of vitality. President Jinping highlighted the long-standing and vibrant friendship between China and Papua New Guinea and praised the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries that has brought tangible benefits to both nations. Australia High Commissioner to PNG John Philp and Caitlin Clifford of the Australian High Commission also paid a courtesy call to the Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai on Wednesday this week. Meanwhile, the Governor-General of Australia, David Haley, conveyed his congratulatory message and extended an invitation for him to visit Australia. He emphasized the strong and enduring relationship between Australia and PNG, built on mutual respect and cooperation across all spheres. The Australian High Commissioner John Philp stated that the Australian government would like to encourage more Australians to visit Papua New Guinea and to see more Papua New Guineans participate in the Australia government's labour mobility scheme. So far, Papua New Guineans from 12 provinces have been engaged in the scheme, and there are plans to expand to more provinces. High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to Papua New Guinea, Kit Scott, also paid a visit to the Governor-General to convey his congratulations and discuss preparations for the coronation of Their Majesties King Charles III and the Queen Consort, which will take place in May. The Governor-General and Prime Minister James Marape will attend the event and have an audience with the King. Frida Kana, TV1 News.
TV1 News continues after the break. Stay with us.
Experience a convenient and smarter way to do your banking with BSB Mobile Banking. You don't have to leave the office or your home to pay for bills. You can view your account balance, transfer funds, top up phone credits, or purchase easy paid units wherever you are. Visit your BSB branch today to register now for BSB Mobile Banking. BSB Mobile Banking, the smarter way to bank. BSB, our bank, our people. When you're spending time with family, when you've got a big day ahead, when you have given it all you've got, when you're putting on a feast, that's when you want the best. That's when you want flame rice. New flame rice. Win him, Olgeta.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager. Bongum Yumi. Cheers to 70 years.
A quick favorite meal for the day does feel good. Snacks noodles is my choice for a simple meal. It is easy to prepare and fast to cook. And with a touch of flavor and ingredients, quality noodles that can be cooked and enjoyed in many different ways. You see, my whole family loves it. It's made here in PNG and comes in different pack sizes. Snacks noodles, tastier but you like it more.
I want you to win somebody's heart. That's Naren.
I never asked for your help with anything, Dad. Don't impose your expectations.
I'm going to be the one who makes the final decision here.
Welcome back. Turning overseas, a pathologist has given evidence at a South Australian inquest examining the death of a Broken Hill man who was wrongly diagnosed with cancer at an Adelaide hospital.
Charles Jackson died from pneumonia in January 2019, months after he travelled to the Royal Adelaide Hospital for a biopsy. After his sample was cross-contaminated with the cancerous tissue of another patient at the SA Pathology Lab, he was incorrectly diagnosed with lung cancer. The 67-year-old then went on to have unnecessary surgery to remove part of his lung, which caused complications including difficulty in eating, drinking and swallowing. Today, Dr. Caroline Smith, who worked at SA Pathology at the time, told the inquest it wasn't clear from a pathology perspective that the sample was contaminated. She said the cancerous tissue that was picked up was surrounded by dead tissue, although in retrospect, she should have clarified further in her diagnostic report that invasive cancerous cells couldn't be proven, which could have led to taking a second biopsy. Dr. Smith also told the court she was surprised to hear scientists in the lab wiped lab equipment between samples instead of using Bunsen burners to reduce the chance of contamination. Earlier, the court heard that doctors at the Royal Adelaide Hospital relied on her report, assuming that the sample showed invasive cancerous cells. The inquest continues.
A group of Australian emergency service personnel are about to join search and rescue efforts. Reporter Mana Zenguri has more from Richmond Air Base on Sydney's northwestern fringe.
72 personnel from Australia will arrive in Turkey to help with rescue efforts. The team includes 52 New South Wales fire rescue personnel who've been trained in rescue operations. What will happen is once they arrive in Turkey, they'll be given their specific location where they'll set up base, and it is understood that they'll stay in the country for 2 weeks. Now, they'll have rotating teams so they can work around the clock 24 hours a day. With them, they'll carry 22 tons of supplies and equipment, things like technologies that will help them with their search, including search cameras. They'll also take their own food, medical supplies and tents. The deputy head of the task force has said they're trying to be fully self-sufficient so they don't have to rely or burden the country they're being deployed to. Here's what the Defence Minister Richard Marles had to say a little bit earlier about Australia's efforts.
Australia has already announced that we will be making a contribution of $10 million to the aid efforts. This morning, a C-17 will be leaving from RAF Base Richmond with a team of 72 urban search and rescuers who will make a real difference when they get onto the ground.
Now, the team is optimistic, saying they're still very much in their rescue phase, so they'll try their best to find as many survivors as they can. As time goes on, they'll transition into the recovery phase. In addition to the practical aid, the New South Wales government is also contributing $1 million to UNICEF's recovery and rescue efforts. This money will help UNICEF with their work on the ground, where they're providing immediate assistance to those who are being rescued and injured during this disaster.
That's thanks to high employment, growing wages and renewed efforts to recoup millions in unpaid land taxes. But with cost of living pressures mounting, the community sector is hoping budget repair won't be the government's sole focus.
Efforts to put the ACT's finances back in the black are in hand, with budget repair being bolstered by near full employment and Canberra spending their pandemic savings.
The achievements over the past few years in the economic context are quite remarkable.
The ACT's budget was firmly in the red in August last year, with a forecast deficit of $483 million for this financial year. Since then, that prediction's improved to the tune of $22 million, and that trend is expected to continue, with the deficit forecast to shrink to $163 million in the 2025 to 2026 financial year. The Territory's forecast debt dropped from $6.5 billion at the last budget to $6.1, but it's still expected to balloon out to $9.6 billion by mid-2025.
Interest rates rising do increase the cost of borrowing, but they also increase the returns on the government's investments.
And while the Chief Minister's optimistic the local economy would survive a looming recession, the outlook isn't as rosy for those looking to support increasing numbers of struggling families.
Our staff have to contemplate what all that means and also provide support
as best they can, knowing that there's going to be another person walking through the door within the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Services like Uniting Care Kipak say they're already stretched.
How can we continue to support the community with the help of government?
It's a question that will be examined by a new Legislative Assembly committee.
When you have stats that are really, really scary, 1 in 10 Canberrans living in poverty, including 9,000 children, it's absolutely obvious that whatever the ACT Labor Greens government is doing is not working.
Funding for the community sector goes up in every budget. There's an automatic formula. But we will obviously be looking at a range of programs and new initiatives.
Measures for which the ACT will seek more federal support.
And that ends the news segment. In sports, Simon reflects on journey and O-League qualifier kicks off. Details later on with Terry. Taking us now to break is the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager. Bungum Yumi. Cheers to 70 years.
Right across the nation, we eat snacks crackers. Emi trupla. All get a young plan alapun, only like him snacks crackers. Only make him here, no PNG, one-time lay biscuit company. It's crunchy and tasty. It's irresistible.
This should be a warning for you. His heart is already at its limit. He might not be able to survive another attack. He needs an operation as soon as possible, okay?
You should be scared, kid, because your parents just sold you off to me, so I owe you now.
Wait, you sold Aris to Dante? How could you do that to him? John, how could you do that?
So you want to earn some big bucks, huh? You think you have what it takes?
I do. Telstra NRL champions, Penrith, Panthers Super League champions. Little kick, little drive. King on. middle kick comes through, and it's chased by Banniston.
What does it mean to be a man of honor? Having the courage to stand up for what is right. Being a voice for the vulnerable. The Man of Honor campaign aims to recognize ordinary men doing extraordinary things in their communities and helping to create opportunities to make the world a better place. Do you know a Man of Honor? Nominate him today. Visit the Digicel Foundation website and social media platforms for more information.
Welcome back. In sports, a young West Tigers outfit has suffered 48-12 loss to the New Zealand Warriors at the Mount Smart Stadium in the first week of the NRL Preseason Challenge. The visitors trailed 14-0 at half-time before the floodgates opened in the final 10 minutes of the match when the Warriors ran in 4 unanswered tries. Here are the match highlights.
Tigers kicking off. Field's in excellent condition given all the rain that we've had in Auckland of late. Quite remarkable. The field is in such good condition as R4. Here's Metcalf. Gives it to R4. Martin. Montoya's got the ball. Montoya. And Marcelo Montoya's over. Well, I don't know if he was the intended. Talau. Good little movement there by Martin. He's got those fancy footwork. Fast play the ball. Williami's got it. And strolling through to score as simple as you like is Ford. Jackson Ford, a second try for the Warriors.
Oh, look, he's had a good off-season, Jackson Ford.
A good shift to start this game. Well, these guys might actually only play half a game as we see Montoya. Montoya! Oh, yeah!
The big don't argue from Montoya. Take that! Boom far!
Metcalf! Clean line right there for Metcalf! Players lining up on Metcalf!
The speed of Metcalf.
Twins those lads. No, it was Ali. Here's Roach. Metcalf, good hands here. Here's Montoya. Coming in for a hat-trick. He's got it down. There's the 5th try for the Warriors, and they've got their bonus score. Really required, which means they're going to have to get creative. There is the creative. It's Matamua offloading. That's a brilliant Tigers try. Right there, it's Trey Camru as Simkin gives it to Kamanu, who's there. He's just too strong. Kamanu, Matamua, and Wakeham. Oh, the hands just elude, and here's Valia, look out! He's gone! Spotcha! Vlasic, that's Seal, and now Ackland, he's going to run it, and out it comes to number 18, Moala Graham Taufa. Oh, intercepted, and Valia's got a double.
What I like about him, he's been hunting, he's been in and around her, right?
Warriors hunting one more try near the end of the game. Asuvalangi is going to get it, and it's right under the post. That is going to do it. And the Warriors start 2023 with an encouraging performance.
The brainchild of PNG's newest rugby league franchise, EMK Civic Pride, and board director Bradley Simon is still in awe, coming to terms with the reality of being accepted into the country's premier rugby league competition, the Digicel Cup for 2023. At the Pride's first media conference yesterday, after yesterday's milestone announcement, Simon appeared shocked and emotional, but put on a brave face in front of the media to reflect back on his roller coaster journey.
I'm still trying to soak it up because it's probably a dream that all the Civic talk about, but it will never happen. Everyone thinks it will never happen.
For the young Sepik prodigy Bradley Simon, at 25 years of age, it was never in his wildest dreams did he imagine that one day his Sepik would have a team in the country's premier National Rugby League competition. It was at the peak of his playing career in 2015 when he won his last grand final with his beloved Gurias that Simon's dream was conceived. 12 years on, the King of the North has been unleashed, with the elevation of the EMK Sepik Pride franchise to the PNG National Rugby League competition for the 2023 season. Facing the media for the first time following Wednesday's historic announcement, the main architect and trailblazer of the Sepik Pride concept, Bradley Simon, appeared to be shocked and emotional as he held back tears of joy to reflect back on his roller coaster journey. As Simon recalls, it was going back home to his marvelous Maprik during off-season and mobilizing youths to engage in touch games that he realized the overwhelming interest and potential not only in Maprik but the greater Sepik as a whole that needs stepping into. 12 years on today is a dream come true.
I was playing for Egmaguris. There was only islands people around playing. There was New Guinea Islands playing, and it was only me, Sepik, playing in the Egmaguris. We had Rodney Pora there as well. And I said to myself, probably one day when I go back home, I'll help my boys back at home to probably come up to that level that I am in now, playing for Digital Cup, playing for a club, and have as much as Sepik boys playing in Digital Cup. So when I went back home, I took a rugby ball and I went out to Maprik Oval Sports Ground, and I started regrouping all the Highlands boys and said, let's play touch, see how we go. So it was just a touch game, and then the interest started growing.
Simon said the idea of starting a provincial franchise for a soccer-dominated province was crucial and the biggest call in his young rugby league career, whether to continue playing or move on. Simon said, with all due respect to the Egmaguris management, it was not an easy decision, adding he owes a lot to Gurias, especially the late Papa Guria, John Nightingale, and son, Stephen Nightingale, and former Guria mentor and now Eastern Britain Governor Michael Marum, who stood by him through this journey.
I blocked Stephen Nightingale's number. I blocked the coach's number because I didn't want to get any messages from them. After 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then I sent a message to all of them telling them that I think I have another path to follow. I have another purpose to do in my province. So I'll be back home and I'll probably help around and help the boys in my province to play rugby league and teach them little things about rugby league. Rugby league, not only playing rugby league, but discipline comes in. After being under Michael Marum, the super coach, and now Honourable Governor of Eastern Britain, I've learned a lot in terms of being a player and discipline as well. So I thought this would be good for our boys back at home. So.
Amid so much criticisms and negativities, Simon and his team persevered under adversity thanks to like-minded people who believed and trusted the Sepik Pride concept since day one. He made special mention of Governor Bird, who jumped on the bandwagon well before he became governor. Above all, Simon acknowledged and expressed his gratitude to naming rights sponsor Emmanuel Kange and his company EMK for coming on board as Sepik Pride's naming rights sponsor. Terry Longwood, TV1 Sports. As the new Host Plus Cup season draws near, returning PNG Hunters enforcer junior Isaac Robb is keeping his hopes high to continue his good form from 2022. Rob, one of Matt Church's standouts in last year's lackluster season, is looking for a better outcome this year as he leads the New Look Hunters out. Formerly Tigers prop and current PNG Hunters hitman Junior Rob would be best remembered for his big hit on an Australian opponent in the 2017 PM's 13 match between PNG and Australia at the National Football Stadium. That hit went viral and no doubt was a highlight of his international debut. Since then, Rob has not worn the red, black and gold jumper, but keeping his hopes high for the call-up soon.
Oh yeah, I was thinking along that as well. Yeah, 2017 PMs was a
+1. It was very good. I had a very good stint there with the big boys in Aussie, and it's memorable. It's still in my memory now. So, yeah.
In the interim, Rob's main focus is to have a good season with the Hunters and see what happens after that. Rob said last year was a tough season for the boys, being based in Australia and away from the family, missing that connection with the family and the fans, and playing in front of their home crowd somewhat took its toll on the team's overall performance.
Obviously, it's everyone's, and I still want to play for Kumul. I want to have put on a jumper for Kumuls and represent my country, and that probably be the last thing I want to do in PNG rugby league system. So yeah.
When reflecting back on his early career, Junior said he started with the Les Royals club before he was snapped up by the Tigers, and he's never taken a backward step since, winning 4 grand final titles with the Morobe franchise under current Hunters coach Stanley Teppen. Rob got his first call-up to the Hunters in 2016 but withdrew in 2017 to complete his studies at the Leigh Nursing College. For him, it's been a roller coaster journey over the past 6 years, but now, back in the Hunters' final squad, he's working hard on his game and as well mentoring the younger boys better their game as well.
Last season it was quite tough. It was really tough staying away from family, and we didn't have that motivation enough to play hard back at Runaway Bay and all this. So now it's very exciting to come back home, play in front of our family, friends, and it's good to be back home. Hopefully, we'll put our very best performance back home. With the new coaching and the new playing system and training systems, all this, we all boys be trying to lead in front and try to help the young boys as well as helping ourselves. So it's been tough at the very first, but now we're getting along up together, and the boys coming up with a new energy and new strength, so we're getting good.
Rob said his biggest supporters are his family back home, where he gets a lot of motivation from every time he's on the field. Terry Longwood, TVWAN Sports. 2022-2023 NSL champions Leigh City FC and runner-up Hekari United FC are bracing themselves for the next challenge, which is the Oceania League qualifier set for this weekend at the Sir Ignatius Kilage Stadium, Leigh. This is the national playoff to determine the ultimate champion team in PNG, who will then qualify to represent the country at the OFC League Vanuatu in May this year. The grudge matchup promises to draw a bumper crowd to the Sir Ignatius Kilage Stadium, with NSL reigning champions Leigh City FC hoping for a strong start this time around after coming from behind to beat Hekari in a penalty shootout at last week's NSL Grand Final decider in Port Moresby. With a colourful history and a good winning culture for years, Hekari are the sleeping giants and on a rebuilding phase with a lot of exciting young talents who are ready to take it up to the more experienced Leigh City outfit, who will have that home crowd advantage. According to NSL competition manager Amzed Takwi, the OFC qualifier will run for 2 weeks and played in home and away format. Champions Leigh City will host runner-up Hekari United this weekend, February 11, and the following Hekari will host Leigh in Port Moresby at the Sir John Guy Stadium on February 18. Tekwe explains the winner will be declared by the number of away goals scored, adding a goal worth 2 points. He says back in the day there were not too many leagues within the Oceania region, thus countries were allowed to send the champion and runner-up to the championship. Terry Longwood, TVWAN Sports. And before we go, the Morobe provincial government passed its 2023 budget of over 644 million yesterday at the Tutumang House. In the budget, 22 million has been allocated to each of the 10 districts of Morobe, with the Governor Luther Wenger alluding to it as people-centered.
The Morobe provincial government passed its 2023 budget that is valued at over 644 million kina. Presenting the estimated budget at Tutumang House on Thursday afternoon, Morobe Governor Luther Wenger outlined that over 440 million kina was from national grants, more than 203 million kina stemmed from internal revenue, and 1.4 million kina was from former year's grants. Wenger said the largest portion of internal revenue was from the goods and services tax, which makes up almost 75% of the entire revenue estimates. GST revenue was valued at 153 million kina, liquor licensing fees at 6.5 million kina, and mining levy at 2.5 million kina.
I'm sure the province should get more from GST than the current share that we receive now, Mr. Chairman. Therefore, we now demand that we get the full 3% of the GST that the province should get. While GST law is supposed to get 3%, national government will get 3% for import and export levy, and also on the income tax and on the company tax and inland tax. But what we keep getting is less. I want to put it on record, Mr. Chairman, that I will make it my business to fight the national government. I will fight it. This government won't fight it. Fight to ensure that we get 100% of the inland tax.
Of the GST received by Morobe, 20% is remitted to the Lae City Authority to maintain and upgrade services in PNG's industrial hub.
Which is in monetary terms 36 million. 36 million to the Lae City Authority. Right? It is important that we maintain and upgrade the level of service in Lae. Mr. Chairman, the city must have the capacity to meet the appetite for growth and transformation.
Governor Wenge further outlined that the MPG's focus is to grow the province's revenue through infrastructure development and empowering the people through agriculture, fisheries, SME and tourism. In the budget, 22 million kina has been allocated to each of the 10 districts of Morobe, where 10 million kina is for District Services Improvement Program, 5 million kina for District Infrastructure Program, 5 million kina from infrastructure development grants, and 2 million kina tied to programs and projects under the provincial budget. With the budget receiving a majority support of 41 members, Tutumang was adjourned to March 29th.
Apart from settling outstanding debts, the Morobe provincial government will also look at supporting preachers, people living with disabilities, widows and single mothers. Morobe Governor Luther Wenger said this when presenting the 2023 budget yesterday at Tutumang House.
Subject to finding out if it's a true claim or a false claim, whatever, subject to that, but this budget will provide 10 million to slowly redound the debts. And then 5 million we put aside to help the preachers of the gospel. They will preach the gospel in the temple, in the cathedral, in the church, on the streets. We have to support the preachers. We begin now, 5 million. When our economic improves, we'll increase it. All pastors and evangelists and deacons, whatever name they call them, they will be paid. 5 million for disabled people and the widows. Those women, the fathers left them behind because the evidence told them. Plus the single mothers.
And that ends the news tonight. Back to you, Maricela.
Thank you, Terry. Before we go, remember to apply the following simple measures to prevent transmission of the coronavirus. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water. Cough or sneeze into your elbow. And exercise social distancing. If you're feeling sick, please stay at home. You can also call the COVID-19 hotline number for more information or assistance. Have a safe weekend. Bye for now.
Bye.
The TVWAN News was proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.